Hey guys, Natalie here with Canine Performance, and in this video we are going to be going over reinforcement schedules. But before we get started, we've been working really hard at creating a lot of really good content so that way you guys have all the education and knowledge to be able to understand your dog and train them at home. So if you could go ahead and like, rate, subscribe us here on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram at canine_performance. But anyway, during this video today, like I said, we're going to be going over reinforcement schedules, or a better way to think about it is how you are rewarding your dog. If you are at home and training your dog and you're running into the problem of your dog will only respond to you if you have a food reward in hand, they're not very reliable with their behaviors, they're not very enthusiastic, maybe they'll only do behaviors when you're inside of the house, we are going to be going over the 4 different types of reinforcement schedules. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my board and train Doug. We're gonna head to downtown Holly Springs and I'm gonna educate you on how to train your dog at home using reinforcement schedules. So as I mentioned, we are going to be going over the different types of reinforcement schedules. There is continuous reinforcement and then there is partial reinforcement. Within our partial reinforcement schedules, we have 4 different types of partial reinforcement schedules inside of that. So I'm going to go over in depth of each of those different types of reinforcement schedules and how it pertains in training and how you can utilize this at home. Make sure that you stick around until the end of this video because at the very end, I'm going to share with you the best type of reinforcement schedule to use with your dog at home so that way you don't have to be reliant on treats and different types of training equipment. Good boy. Good job. All right, guys, so the first reinforcement schedule that I'm going to be going over is a continuous reinforcement schedule. Now, here is the mistake that a lot of owners make when they first start training their dog. And this is why, if you are struggling with only having a treat in hand for your dog to obey different commands, it's because you've used too much of this type of reinforcement schedule, which is our continuous reinforcement schedule. What this means is that every single time that your dog does a behavior, you have always provided a reward. Now, this is very important to use this type of reinforcement schedule, a continuous reinforcement schedule, when you are teaching a behavior. But once your dog understands the behavior and can reliably do that behavior 8 or 9 times out of 10, you need to start using a partial reinforcement schedule. So next, we're going to go over into the 4 different types of partial reinforcement schedules. The first partial reinforcement schedule that we're going to be going over is going to be our fixed ratio reinforcement. What this means is that you are going to give reinforcement or a reward to your dog after a specific number of responses. So for example, you only reward your dog after they have successfully completed the sit command 3 times. So this means that your dog can anticipate that every 3 times of doing a behavior, they are going to get reinforcement. The next type of reinforcement schedule that we are going to be going over is going to be our fixed interval reinforcement schedule. What this means is that you have a specific amount of time where you are going to give a reward to your dog. So this means that if your dog is doing a command, you reward them every 1 minute. So your dog holds a down command. At 1 minute, you will reward them. At 2 minutes, you will reward them. At 3 minutes, you will reward them, so on and so forth. The next reinforcement schedule that we're going to be discussing is going to be our variable interval reinforcement schedule. Now, what this means is that you are going to provide reinforcement or a reward to your dog at unpredictable times. Say that your dog is on a duration climb command, you will reward them every 2 minutes, maybe the next time 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it may be. It's going to be unpredictable when you are going to reward your dog. The last type of reinforcement schedule that we are going to be going over, which is the one that I recommend, is going to be our variable ratio reinforcement schedule. What this means is that you are going to reward your dog after an unpredictable number of successful responses. So if you're working with your dog, say that you give them a command and they successfully complete the command, you would mark good, and perhaps you wouldn't reward. You give them another command, maybe down, they successfully do the command, you would mark good, and you would give them a reward. This is how behaviors such as humans occur that create gambling and addiction. You never know when you are going to be getting the reinforcement or how much reinforcement you're going to be getting. So if you're working at home with your dog, after you have successfully taught the behavior using a continuous reinforcement schedule, move on to a variable reinforcement schedule. All right, guys, so that was it when it comes to reinforcement schedules. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Comment what was the most valuable thing that you got out of this video, and make sure that you subscribe for the future. We'll be going over a lot more tips and tricks for when you are working with your dog at home.